Today I'll be going over some rather strange computer-related items I found on eBay. So the first one are these PCI Express slot fans, and what they are, they go into one of your PCI Express slots, as shown in this image, and it's supposed to improve your graphics card temperatures. As you can see here, they're using it on a very low powered card, so I don't really know why you'd need to have two 18mm fans blasting air at it. And the second kind doesn't blow air onto your graphics card. What are these images? But it actually just sucks air out of your case. So if you've got hotspots around your case, or if your computer has a limited number of exhaust fans, I know lots of old cases only had one 18mm near the CPU, and then the rest relied on the power supply, so this would sort of help. And you can see it's using those, I think they're called Molex connectors there, so this is pretty old. Oh, it's called an LP4 connector apparently. And here is a case similar to one you might see soon on this channel. It's a mini ITX computer case. These are extremely small. They're so small, in fact, they don't even have a full-size power supply in them. It says power supply, I don't know why it says that there. It's actually for a mini ITX. And you're probably wondering, what kind of power supply would this use? Well, it actually uses one of these. And as you can see, it actually kind of has a barrel jack, which uses a laptop power supply or some sort of external power supply. Then it goes onto this small board here, which distributes the power to the components. And considering that the stuff you sort of use in cases like this is low powered, I actually think that's a pretty good idea. It's sort of like a laptop but less portable. Maybe you want to have a media center and you can, I don't know, attach this to the back of your TV using this mounting holes. I actually think that's a pretty good idea. It only has USB 2 front I/O, but so does the one I have. It's pretty old. The one I had like a Celeron in it. It was made for a production line actually, but I've gutted it and I'm actually going to plan on putting a full powered computer, and it'll probably use around 100 watts, which if you see over here, these can handle 300 watts. The one in my computer, currently it actually comes with one of these, actually only uses 100 watts. And then there are these which are even smaller and probably even lower powered, so it's only really made for like Pentium's i3s, Ryzen 3s, maybe Ryzen 5s, but so the entire board plugs directly into the motherboard, and then there's a plug on it that distributes the power to the rest of your computer. I think that's pretty cool. Then we go into the slightly dodgy stuff. 500 watt power supply. I don't think that's 500 watts. It's a very generic design, unbranded, $30. I wouldn't trust it. You can see it there, even proudly put board design here. They are very thin heat sinks. I do find quite a lot of these in old computers. What they come from is they normally come supplied in the cases, and then they're sort of put in cheap office systems that don't use too much power, and they never get close to their 500 watt claim. And then sometimes what happens is someone sees the 500 watts and thinks, I have quite a bit of headroom for upgrades. Then they upgrade their computer, and then you know what happens next. But I find these in computers, and they're pretty good for projects. It's just a high current 12 volt power supply. That's good for projects like things that need lots of power, like Peltier modules, electric motors and other stuff like that. So, you know, but I would never buy one brand new. And here's sort of this one also has a story behind it. You can see it says 300 watts, which is probably pretty close to its actual capacity. This one actually has a brand, Rotanium, and it says Evo 775, and this name has been around much longer than the Rotanium brand. It actually used to be called Shaw, S-H-A-W, and they were put in Australian pre-built computers, and what it said was Evo 775 with no other labeling, or it was pretty dodgy, and it appeared to be a 775 watt power supply, and they were not 775 watts, and they blew up all the time. They were not exactly the most reliable units. And here we go even dodgier, a 1000 watt power supply. For Intel AMD PC, that doesn't really matter. This one apparently has 4 12 volt rails. You know, you don't really know how much these can handle until you go past their limits and they can't fulfill them. As you can see, for 1000 watts, you still get ketchup and mustard cables. The power supply in my computer is actually 850 watts, and it is way more heavy than I've picked up these ever are. So I would definitely not recommend using these or buying these at all. And then here's one's a 2000 watt, which is really pushing the amount of power you can take out of a wall in Australia. Continuous, I think it's 2000 watts, but it can go up to 2400 watts, but you can see this one is just made for graphics cards, and this is like sort of in a very grey area of why would you buy this, because normally a Bitcoin miner would spend so much money on all of these graphics cards, and so you might as well, you know, a good power supply costs like a lot less than one of those graphics cards, so there's no point in putting such cheap power supplies in your computer, especially when a better one only costs a bit more, and this one has no guarantee that it won't blow up your computer. And see, 1800 watts to 2000 watts, it's still doubting how much it can actually put out. It's just, you just don't use this, alright? If you're ever Bitcoin mining, do not use one of these, or if you have, you've probably already learned your lesson when it went up in smoke. Here's something interesting, a gold power supply. 2 fans. This one sort of looks like an earlier 2000s high quality model, so it might actually be okay, but again, if you want a good power supply, you should just go to a reputable manufacturer, like a computer parts store, like PC Case Gear, Scorptech, MSY, etc. Here's another interesting one. It looks like they literally bolted 2 crappy power supplies together, and 3450 watts or 3450 watts is impossible. It doesn't have a heavy duty connector on it, just a standard kettle plug, so this thing would only be able to really put out, even if this was really well built, about 2000 watts. It comes with tons of cables, so they're really selling it up to be this extremely high power one, and you can see 275 amps on the single 12 volt rail. I do not believe that one bit. It actually looks like there's 2 boards inside that are the same. Actually, like they literally did bolt 2 together, and even then it'd have 2 12 volt rails, because well, there's 2 boards, unless if one's been modified just to do 5 volts and the other's 12 volts, but I don't trust this. GTX 1050, but as you can see, it kind of looks a bit small to be a 1050. Maybe like a 210 or something. Yeah, I wouldn't trust this one bit. you'll probably just get robbed of your money. It's probably some GT 710 or 240 something. These, if you're going to buy a graphics card, just buy one with an actual brand in it, like Galax or whatever other people that distribute graphics cards, whatever other companies that distribute graphics cards. So I would not buy this. And here's one you've probably seen on tons of YouTube channels. It's one of those classic, with the classic fan shroud, and you can see even the heatsinks bent in the actual photo. This, I think, was like a GT 450 or something. They uncovered, even though they made it in the BIOS to appear like a 1050, but it really wasn't. So if you really want to see more about this card, there's tons of other videos, YouTubers that have done videos about these cards, so just look up fake GTX card or something like that. Here's something interesting. It's some strange RGB music keyboard thing that tapes or sticks to the side of your computer. This one's just really stylistic, you know, you can like it, I don't really like it. It looks to be unbranded, but $40 Australian, kind of pushing it on unbranded sort of stuff. Like, I would just rather buy a branded $60 RGB thing than this, but it does look to be made out of acrylic. Again, this one's just taste. I would not put this on my computer. I don't really like it, but hey, if you want some weird musical acrylic RGB thing on your computer, sure, take it. I don't want it. So this is an unbranded radiator. These aren't, you probably won't see too many of these on the English computer nerdy side of YouTube, because mainly what these are used for is not on these, but on DIY fridges and other stuff that use Peltier modules, and they use these to take away the heat from the modules with acrylic tubing and cheap water pumps. So they're really made for DIY, cheap, low-cost things, but I really wouldn't trust it inside that computer. And that is one of the most expensive cases you can buy. I'm pretty sure I checked a while ago on PC Case Gear. So yeah, you would not put something this cheap in it. This one looks to be in a bit better condition, but still, for $27 for a DIY project, I get it, but I would not put this anywhere near an expensive computer. And here's an entire water cooling kit you can get for $171. That's pretty expensive for something unbranded. The fan is a deep cool. Apparently it doesn't really look that nice, but it's a golden radiator, some unbranded parts, an aquarium pump, some acrylic tubing, thermal paste, and just a bunch of other things to help, I don't know, siphon water and hold it down and stuff like that. You know, I've never seen that brand. What's that? XHDIY. I mean, you know, it looks like it'd get the job done if you're on a budget, or not really. This is $171, but I really wouldn't go with unbranded water cooling kits. You know, I really wouldn't want to put my computer's life in some cheap plastic off eBay's hands, so I'd steer clear of this. If you've just got like an experimental computer, you know, it might be alright. And the last one is also something that you've probably seen on DIY videos. It's this it's a rather strange heatsink. You can see it really doesn't have that many fins on it, which is a bit concerning, and it's for LGR 1155, 1156, which is quite old. So I mean, if you're trying to upgrade an older computer, I still wouldn't get this because probably the stock one's fine, better than this. But what really caught my attention was the size of that aluminium slug, or the aluminium slug in the middle. If I'm correct, that doesn't even cover the whole CPU heat spreader. So you'd have half of the heat spreader not even covered, or like covered by the tiny edges of the fins of the heatsink. So again, probably best just for DIY projects. It's not really made for an enthusiast. If you're in a pinch and your cooler dies and you've only got $17.28, then I guess this will work fine, but you should really steer clear of this. Let's see. Already, look, we have the official Intel one, which will probably do just good as a job, just maybe a bit noisier, for like $1 more, and you've also got that guarantee that it will fit on and it won't break your computer. Oh, that's interesting. Look at that. A $50, 4 heat pipes. That actually looks like 6 to me, but for 1156. But that actually looks pretty well built for something so cheap. Again, this is probably just for DIY projects. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. Anyway, well, I guess that's the end of this video. Comment down below if you found anything, like any strange computer products on eBay or other like websites before. And I guess that's it for this video, so I'll see you in the next one.